Okay, so when you picture Finland, what's the first image that comes to mind for you? For a lot of people, I bet it's that classic stereotype, right?
Hmm.
Fair skin, blonde hair.
Piercing blue eyes.
Exactly. And maybe, quiet, sort of reserved. It's a really strong image, almost like an archetype.
It is. It's very pervasive.
But what if I told you that this picture, while, yeah, it has some roots in reality, it barely scratches the surface? Finland's genetic story is actually incredibly unique.
It really is. Quite fascinating.
The reality is, well, it's even more interesting than the stereotype. Finland's people, I mean, they share a neighborhood with their Nordic cousins, but genetically, they're among the most distinct populations in all of Europe.
That's right. Really stand out.
So we're about to dive into this captivating story. We're talking ancient isolation, a surprising Eastern ancestry that doesn't get talked about much,
Definitely underplayed sometimes.
and this sort of quiet, ongoing negotiation between identity and genetics that's been happening for generations. Our mission here, in this deep dive, is to look past those first impressions. We want to uncover the surprising story of how Finnish people actually came to look the way they do. We'll trace the influences of genetics, geography, history.
It's all connected.
Think of Finland as like an island population, but without being an actual island.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Isolated by these huge natural barriers. Long, harsh winters, deep forests, thousands and thousands of lakes. And this isolation, it created this powerful genetic thing. What do geneticists call it? The founder effect.
Exactly. The founder effect is absolutely crucial here. Just picture it. A small group, maybe only a few dozen, maybe a couple hundred early settlers. They set up a new community in a really isolated, challenging place like ancient Finland.
That-
They inherently carry just a fraction, a limited set of the genetic diversity from whatever population they came from.
Right, a smaller gene pool to start
Yeah.
with.
Precisely. Then, over centuries, because they're isolated minimal marriage or mixing with outsiders, their descendants multiply. And those specific genetic markers they originally carried, both the common ones and the rare ones, they get amplified, hugely amplified.
The small variations become much more common.
Exactly. What you end up with is this unique genetic signature that really stands apart from the populations around them. Those tough winters, the forests, the lakes, they weren't just geographical features, they were basically genetic gatekeepers.
Wow. Shaping the actual genetic blueprint.
Shaping the very blueprint of the Finnish people.
And if you want to see that blueprint in action, I guess eye color is a prime example.
Oh, absolutely. Look no further.
Finland is apparently a global outlier here. It holds the record, the highest percentage of blue eyes in the world.
It does. The numbers are quite striking.
We're talking, what, a staggering 89% of Finns having blue or gray eyes? 89%.
It's almost universal.
Which really stands out when you see that less than 2% have brown eyes. That's a record low for Europe.
A record low, yeah. It flips the script compared to Southern Europe, for instance.
Just to give some context, they're neighbors. Sweden is around 78% blue-eyed.
Roughly, yes. Maybe 75% for Norway, Estonia around 70%.
So Finland still stands out, even among neighbors known for light eyes.
Definitely.
So what makes this specific prevalence so high? How does that tie back to the founder effect?
Well, it's a textbook case, really, of how a recessive trait can become dominant or at least near dominant under specific conditions.
Okay, recessive meaning you need 2 copies of the gene.
Exactly. Blue eyes need 2 copies. In a population with a really tightly knit, isolated gene pool like Finland's became, the chances of those specific recessive genes finding each other and pairing up just increased dramatically over generations.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
So the geography in that founder effect didn't just, preserve the blue eye mutation. They actively reinforced it. They pushed it until it became the overwhelming norm.
So it's evolution in action driven by isolation.
A powerful display of genetic selection and isolation. Yeah. It effectively locked in those traits for centuries.
Okay, so from eyes, let's shift to skin tone. Another area where Finland seems unique.
Very fair-skinned.
They're ranked among the top 3 fairest skin populations globally, right? Up there with Ireland and Scotland.
That's correct. Consistently.
And dermatological data backs this up. Over 95% of Finns fall under Fitzpatrick type I or II skin.
Which basically means highly photosensitive.
Right. Burn easily, tan poorly, if at all.
This extreme paleness, it's actually a direct, and you could say rather elegant evolutionary adaptation.
To the environment.
To the environment, exactly.
Yeah.
In places with very low sunlight, especially during those incredibly long, dark Finnish winters, lighter skin is just much more efficient at making vitamin D from the little UV radiation that's available.
Ah, the vitamin D connection.
Yeah.
Crucial for survival.
Absolutely critical for survival and general health, especially in early northern populations. And an interesting side note, a kind of subtle genetic echo of this concentrated gene pool. Traits linked to albinism, while still very rare overall, do pop up slightly more often than the average.
Really?
Yeah, it just underscores again how these rare recessive genes can pair up more frequently in isolated groups due to that founder effect.
Fascinating. Okay, let's talk hair. The other part of the stereotype is blonde.
Right, the blonde Finn.
And mostly that holds true, but maybe it's more nuanced.
It is. It's not just one shade fits all. About 2/3, maybe 67% have light to medium blonde hair.
Okay.
But it's often a specific kind of blonde, cooler, sheer tones.
Yeah.
Less golden than what you might think of as typically Scandinavian, maybe?
Interesting distinction. A sheer.
Yeah. And beyond blonde, you see a decent chunk, maybe 21%, with ashputtuk or dark blonde, and about 9% have coppery or reddish shades, which is notable too.
But dark brown or black hair is very rare.
Very rare, only around 3%.
And there's that thing about kids' hair changing color, right?
Right. Yes, that's quite distinctive. Many Finnish children are platinum blonde, almost white blonde when they're young.
Oh.
But then around puberty, it often darkens substantially, maybe to an ash brown. And this specific trait, it's seen much more in Finnic populations, people speaking Finnic languages, than in Germanic ones.
So that hints at their deeper roots, maybe separate from their immediate neighbors.
It's another little genetic clue pointing towards their unique Uralic ancestry, which we'll get into.
Okay. And hair texture? Mostly straight?
Overwhelmingly, about 76% straight, maybe 18% wavy. Curly hair is really uncommon, only about 6%, one of the lowest rates in Europe.
Right. So straight, often ashy blonde or brown hair. Now, what about facial structure? This sounds subtle.
It is subtle, but anthropologists often describe a common Finnish craniofacial profile. Think gentle, sometimes described as flat or wide.
Okay, what does that mean in terms of features?
Features like broad cheeks, maybe wide-set eyes, often a low nasal bridge. Faces tend to be a bit shorter, less pronounced jaws, maybe rounded chins, softly curved foreheads. It's a constellation of subtle traits.
And you're saying this isn't just subjective observation, there's genetics behind this too.
Oh, yes. There's compelling genetic evidence here. This is where it gets really interesting in terms of ancestry.
Okay, tell me more. This genetic evidence, how does it link to the physical features?
Well, genetic studies have found something quite remarkable. Finns have one of the highest frequencies in Europe of a specific gene variant called EDAR V370A.
EDAR V370A.
Okay. Now, this variant is super common in East Asian populations, but elsewhere in Europe, extremely rare, almost non-existent in most places.
Wow, so Finns have this East Asian gene variant much more often than other Europeans.
Significantly more often.
So what does this gene do? How does it affect appearance?
It has several influences. It's linked to wider facial structures, thicker hair strands,
Thicker hair, okay.
and even affects teeth. It contributes to something called shovel-shaped incisors, where the back of your front teeth has ridges.
No kidding. Even teeth structure.
Even teeth. And it's also associated with higher activity in sebaceous glands in the skin.
So if someone perceives a sort of faint Eastern look in some Finnish faces,
It's not just their imagination, it's a genetic reality. It's a direct link, a fascinating thread connecting them to a part of their ancient past that often gets overlooked.
that EDAR gene sounds like a really powerful marker then.
It's a very powerful genetic signature, yes. A direct trace of ancient migrations and genetic mixing. And really, it's the key to understanding one of the biggest, let's say, twists in Finland's genetic story, that Eastern ancestry component.
Right. You mentioned this earlier. It's not often talked about.
Not always, or sometimes it's sort of downplayed. Unlike most Swedes or Norwegians or Danes, who are largely part of that big Indo-European language and genetic family that spread across most of Europe, Finns are different. They're linguistically and genetically linked to Uralic peoples.
Uralic. Okay, who does that include?
It's a distinct language and genetic family that originated further east. It includes Estonians, the indigenous Sami people of northern Scandinavia and Russia, and even some groups in Siberia.
Siberia. Wow, that's quite a distance.
It is, and geneticists have actually quantified this link. It turns out that roughly 5 to 10% of the modern Finnish genome seems to derive from ancient Siberian populations, specifically groups like the Nganasan people.
5 to 10%. That's significant.
It's definitely significant. And this ancient Siberian legacy helps explain some of those physical traits we just discussed.
Like the EDAR gene, the facial structure.
Exactly. The slight tendency towards epicanthic folds in the eyes, which you sometimes see more in northeastern Finns, that wider face shape, the higher frequency of certain East Asian genetic markers like EDAR.
So it's a real East-West fusion, genetically speaking.
You could say that. While Finland is very much culturally Western, politically European today, its people carry this distinct Eastern genetic thread that tells a story of a very ancient, different journey.
Has this scientific finding ever been controversial?
It has, actually. In the past, there have been political debates. Some Finnish nationalists historically rejected any notion of an Eastern or Mongoloid connection, wanting to emphasize purely European roots.
Right, identity politics.
But the scientific data, the genetic evidence, is quite clear and consistently points to this Uralic and ancient Siberian component. It's part of their unique heritage.
That is genuinely surprising for many people, I think. It challenges that purely Nordic image.
It does.
And speaking of challenging stereotypes, here's another one. Height.
Ah, yes, the towering Finn.
Exactly. The image is often of tall Nordic people. But Finland isn't actually the tallest in the region, is it?
No, they're not. Recent stats put Finnish men around 178.8 centimeters, that's just under 5'10" and a half, and Finnish women at about 165.1 centimeters, which is around 5'5".
Okay, 5'10" and 5'5". How does that stack up against neighbors?
Well, compare it to, say, Dutch men. They average around 183.8 centimeters, quite a bit taller. Swedish men are around 180.5 centimeters. Norwegian men about 179.9 centimeters.
So Finns are, on average, a bit shorter than their immediate Scandinavian neighbors, and definitely shorter than the Dutch.
Generally, yes.
Why is that? Any ideas?
It's likely a mix of things. First, those genetic differences we talked about, stemming from their distinct Uralic roots. Those ancestral populations didn't necessarily follow the same height trajectory as some Western European groups.
So genetics plays a part.
And second, timing might be a factor. Their widespread adoption of modern, high-protein diets probably happened a bit later compared to some other parts of Western Europe. Nutrition hugely impacts average height over time.
Right, environment and diet matter too.
Absolutely. But what's really fascinating is how quickly Finnish height has increased recently.
Oh.
Yeah, Finland has seen one of the most rapid increases in average height in Europe in the last century or so. Averages have shot up by over 12 centimeters, that's nearly 5 inches.
Well, 12 centimeters, that's huge.
It's a massive jump. And it's largely attributed to dramatically improved nutrition after World War II and widespread access to modern healthcare.
So it shows how environment can really unlock genetic potential, even within a relatively stable gene pool.
Exactly. Nature and nurture working together over time.
This all brings us to a really complex and very current issue, doesn't it? The whole question of who gets to look Finnish.
Yeah. That's a big one today.
Finland is becoming more diverse. There's immigration from places like Somalia, Iraq, Vietnam, Russia. The face of the nation is changing.
Undeniably.
But, as you might guess, not everyone agrees on what looking Finnish means anymore.
No, it sparks debate.
You've got some people who really cling tightly to that traditional image. Pale skin, blue eyes, blonde hair. That is Finnishness to them, visually.
The stereotype becomes the standard, yeah.
But then, especially among younger Finns, you hear a strong pushback. They're saying Finnish identity should be civics, not visual.
Right, based on shared values, language, citizenship, contribution, not just appearance.
We see this online, don't we? Social media influencers, public figures who maybe have mixed heritage or aren't ethically Northern European but identify strongly as Finnish.
And they often get both a lot of praise and, unfortunately, sometimes quite a bit of backlash, too.
It really makes you think about how powerful these inherited ideas about appearance are. So it kind of poses the question directly to you, our listener. Can someone with, say, brown eyes, maybe curly hair, maybe a tan complexion, can they truly be Finnish?
And the answer, based on everything we know from history and the genetics we've just explored, have to be an emphatic yes.
Yes. Why so emphatic?
Because, first, it's crucial to remember that even among native-born Finns today, there's already a huge amount of variation in appearance. That narrow stereotype is just, well, it's a stereotype. It was never the whole picture.
Right. Variation exists naturally.
Exactly. And second, if you go back in time, say 500 years ago, Many people living in Finland wouldn't have perfectly matched the very strict look Finnish standards some people hold on to today anyway. Populations change, appearances evolve.
Good point.
Yeah.
History matters.
Identity is just far more fluid, much more encompassing than that. It's tied to culture, language, shared experience, belonging, much more than just a rigid checklist of physical traits.
The genetics themselves show that Finnish identity has always been an evolving tapestry, right? Not static.
Precisely. It's always been dynamic.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it feels like the uniqueness of Finland is quiet. It's subtle.
Like the landscape often is.
Yeah, like its vast, silent forests, its really unique language, that kind of serene stillness you find there. The people themselves seem to reflect that same quiet difference.
There's maybe a softness in the bone structure we talked about, a particular brightness in the eye, and definitely that gene sequence woven through the population that's unlike any other in the neighborhood.
It's not about being exotic, is it? It's just evolution, survival and isolation.
And it is, in its own way, quite beautiful, that uniqueness.
The face of Finland really is an evolving story then.
It absolutely is. It's not just the blonde hair or the fair skin that sets them apart. It's the deep, deep impact of millennia of isolation. It's the sheer determination to survive in a tough environment. And it's that fascinating blend of East and West written right into their DNA.
Like the silence of the tundra expressed in genetic code.
That's a poetic way to put it. Finland looks different because genetically, linguistically, ancestrally, it is different. And importantly, as the country becomes more diverse, that deep-seated, unique genetic and cultural difference won't just vanish. It'll continue to grow, adapt, weave new threads into that already rich tapestry.
So what does this all mean for you listening today? Maybe the next time someone says, or perhaps even your own inner voice whispers that someone doesn't look Finnish, I'd invite you to just pause and genuinely ask, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
What are we basing that on?
Good question to ask.
Perhaps the evolving Finnish look isn't about trying to fit everyone into a specific, static, maybe outdated Nordic box. Maybe. Maybe it's actually about looking forward, embracing a much broader definition of identity.
One that respects the deep, complex genetic history we've discussed.
Right, acknowledging that unique past.
While also celebrating the vibrant, diverse future that's already unfolding.